Welcome to the Squad Games Podcast. Squad Games Podcast.
You want to know something? I have started a journey. I'm going to be calling it Squad Gains. Okay. I started going to the gym yesterday, and then today my wife was like, she went to the store instead. So I went out and I ran for 30 minutes, and I've developed this whole thing. It's called Squad Gains. Okay. Good for physical health, good for mental health, good for gaming, right?
Yes.
Do you know why I started this? Giacomo was standing right next to me when the inspiration took hold. The inspiration in my soul. I was checking into the Excalibur when I went to your guys' event, the doubles event. And the lady behind the desk at Excalibur told me that I reminded her of Dwight from The Office. And I was like, wow, I have fallen so far, and my vanity, my Slanesh vanity within myself will not let that down. So my entire body is sore and aching from exerting myself and trying to lose weight and gain muscle, so I no longer look like Dwight from The Office. This is the beginning of Squad Games. And also, welcome to the Squad Games Podcast, where we talk about Kill Team with me, my host, Giacomo.
Yep.
How's it going, everyone? We have Liam over here, and we have Mike below me. Mike was also one of our judges at the Las Vegas Open, which me and Giacomo run, and Mike was a major help, and I shouted him out quite a few times on this podcast. Hopefully he doesn't listen, otherwise he's going to be very self-conscious. But also we have Liam from Sin City Kill Team, and you run a lot of events in Las Vegas, this being your largest event so far. How was it, and what event did you run?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me here. So the event was a theme that we had last year, and it was for a Valentine's, not on Valentine's Day, but Valentine's couple themed duos event where you run half of a kill team and the other person, whoever your couple is, runs their half of the kill team. And you basically play a full game of kill team with two halves. I think you brought Vetguard and Giacomo brought Kazarkin.
That's correct.
Yeah. And 38 people. I think me and Mike were talking about it. I think it's to my knowledge, somebody correct me if I'm wrong here, but the largest independent, other than your guys' event, kill team event in Las Vegas. So I'll take that.
Amazing. Hell yeah.
Wow.
Let's
I'll
go.
put that on my mantle. It was 38 players, huge success, and a bunch of out-of-town people.
You know what's amazing? Cherokee Open happened that same weekend that FLG runs, and they only had 22 players.
Oh my God.
Where's that held?
Cherokee Open. No, Cherokee is
Colorado?
on the East Coast.
Just kidding. I don't know anything.
Oh my God. Okay, so we're the largest kill team event that day in the world.
That's huge.
That I don't know.
Well,
All right.
Yeah.
Somebody take the
just
title away
had
from me.
Spain just had like a 92 person tournament, and I don't know if it was that weekend or the weekend before.
All right. Well, they can have it.
Funny story. The Cascadia guys also had a doubles tournament the same day.
There was quite a
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
few. There was a doubles tournament in Los Angeles as well. Apparently, they had nothing but beta decima, and everyone complained about it.
Oh,
And
no.
the TO reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you guys have 3D printable Volcus available?" I was like, "Yes, please hit me up on Monday."
We only had one, beta decima, but it was really cool and not beta decima. So
Yeah,
I'll take
it was
that.
beta Helsima, which is way cooler than beta Decima.
Hey, it had fog effects and everything. It was
It
super
did.
cool.
It
Sad
did.
you guys didn't get. Well, I mean, I think you were avoiding it. You would have been like, I don't know about that.
No, I like the terrain. The terrain was dope. There was
was
no
super
water,
cool.
which makes me pleased.
One of our local
There was
leagues,
smoke, though.
Yeah,
there
smoke.
was smoke is dope.
Smoke is dope.
Yeah. So, today on the podcast, luckily we got to this before the first 5 minutes. We're going to be talking about alternative ways to play competitive kill team or just kill team in general. while talking with the Las Vegas boys about how their scene has grown from what did you guys scene really start 2 years ago? Liam, when did you start really pushing events?
So our scene started about started when I started playing Kill Team, which is about now 2 years ago. Coming up on it, yeah. So we started with our biggest tournament at the time was 12 people, and over just grinding on it, just getting through all the games and making more tournaments for people to join and building a community. We just reached our peak, so 38 right now, and we're not even reaching everybody. I know that for sure.
Yeah. At LVO, we found 2 Las Vegas players who no one from the Las Vegas scene had ever seen before.
Oh.
So yeah, there are some people who just play at home with their friends or family. And,
do you guys know Denver McShay? I don't know. I know he's in the Vegas area. I love Denver.
Denver, if you're here, come and play Kill Team.
I love Denver. Denver's awesome.
If you're in Vegas and you're listening to this, come play Kill Team.
He might be my favorite Vegasian, and I'm talking to 2 Vegasians right now.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
that hurts.
Denver has never won a game, and he still comes to LVOs.
Doors over there, man. Over
there. Yeah, he's a legend. No, but seriously, Mike, how has it been TOing? And do you feel like you're getting shoehorned into being a forever TO, or are you looking forward to still playing? Because I'm pretty shoehorned, Oh,
it's funny because this kind of ties into what you were talking about before about the Vegas community and how we've been growing. About 2 years ago, I moved back to Vegas from Cascadia area. That's why I'm like big with all those guys too. And there wasn't really a Kill Team community in Vegas. So it was like me, a couple people I don't think you've met before, and then like if you met Derek, he was there both at LVO and at the doubles tournament this time.
Okay.
And it was mostly like me and Derek were trying to just push Kill Team a lot. Derek was running the local scene before I even came back. And then, Liam showed up, Casey showed up, all the other people you've seen, they all started showing up a little bit after that. And it was been mostly, I guess, like me, Derek, and Liam had been mostly trying to grow the scene over playing ourselves. So I know the first few tournaments that Liam ran, he didn't play, and I did. And then we've been kind of slowly trying to transition it where a mix of people can play and TO or judge. Just because, we don't have that many tournaments, like four or 5 tournaments a year.
Yep.
So it's nice to be able to play in them as well as run them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really big on the building the community aspect. And one good thing about building the community is letting people play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone has to not play, I'm 100% okay with that being me.
That's fair.
So
That's
yeah,
fair.
I'm also like, I actually enjoy debating rules. I've been doing that since 40K, 2nd edition, 3rd edition. All I do is like read the rules, come up with random edge case scenarios, and try to figure out what GW may have intended or not intended, or just playing by the rules as written, and it's ridiculous, but everyone does it. So being able to put that knowledge to like practical use in terms of like not just a theoretical debate on the internet with random people, but being like, hey, I'm a judge of this tournament. This is how we're going to play it, right? That's been pretty neat. I like it. It's fine. Luckily, at least in Vegas, we haven't had any like issues where the hard part of TOing comes around, right? Like I haven't had to ban people or give any cards out except for blue cards. And then
it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, I know. it's gonna happen. The bigger you get, eventually it's gonna happen.
2 years, no problems.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky here. And then at LVO, I don't know if you want to talk about the inner workings of judging, but
yeah, go for it.
Yeah, all the hard calls are passed over to you, so I don't have to do that.
I like to be the bad guy. It's easier when players can point at a guy and be like, "Oh, he's the reason why I lost this game," or this or that, right? And like, I kind of view it as like DMing, right? Like when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? You're kind of like the grand master, the maestro, right? And when we would call you over, Mike, and be like, "Hey, can this model see this model?"
Right?
And you're like, "Yes" or "No," right? It's a lot easier for players to kind of like just call somebody else over so that there's no skin in the game, no one has any bad or hurt feelings. And a lot of some of those edge cases are really difficult because like there is no clarification. Like Games Workshop has just like, a brand new team is out and you just don't know, right? So you're like, well, we're going to play it like this and this is how it's going to be for the event, with the squig. Can the squig blow up through a Volcus door? We ruled yes, right?
Yeah.
Or I did. I don't think you agreed with me.
No, I agree. I agreed because it's only fair. If you can fight it, it should be able to explode at you.
Yeah, right. But I don't know if it should also like blow up and kill other models, or is it just the model fighting it? Like who knows? Like hopefully when Games Workshop does its next FAQ, I know that we put together a bunch of stuff from LVO and we sent it off to Games Workshop, and hopefully they see it and look at it, because there's quite a good few questions there.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to plug really quick. One thing I wish people would do is, especially with like the line of sight thing you brought up, I wish people would just call over judges more often. If you have any dispute at all with your opponent, just call a judge. Like, we have nothing else to do. We're just sitting around doing nothing. Like, just ask us to make an impartial third-party call for your line of sight issue or your rules issue. If you're not 100% certain or your opponent's pushing back, just call a judge.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Like, that's what we're there
shaking their
for.
head here, yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. It can be very boring and lonely as a judge.
Oh yeah. So in the doubles tournament we just did, it's 4 players in a table, 2 players per side, and I think there was maybe only one game the entire day where it was 4 players that weren't, none of the 4 players were experienced at all. That only happened once. Besides that, there was always some very highly ITC rated player on the table, if not 4 of them. So as a judge for that event, I was kind of mostly just sitting around doing nothing. And then occasionally I would get called over for a line of sight issue. So I'm sure there was more real disputes than that. I just wish people would call us over more often.
That tournament was probably the most competitive, not competitive tournament ever.
It had
this thing.
It had a lot of good vibes. So like going into alternative ways to play the game, we'll go over doubles first, right? Doubles, I don't like the way Adepticon is doing it. They're keeping the same format as last year. I haven't read the rules because they scare me. The fact that they're allowing 2 full teams and then they're allowing both teams to be able to have like 6 operatives and 14 operatives, and then there's like 2 teams of like 6 operatives. So what they're going to get like 12 counteracts. Like what's going on, right? It's rather interesting. The way that everyone should play doubles now is the same way that you would play an NPO mission, right? You would take half of your team. Let's say round up. Let's make it easy, like you guys did, right? And your opponent, your buddy takes half a team, round it up, and so does your opponent's, right? And then it's meant to be broken. Things aren't super easy. Now, your ploys can't affect each other, but your ploys can affect your opponents. So, like, what was I will let you explain this one, Liam. The Fate's Wish, the Fate's Call. What is this thing from Warp Coven? My Fate's Dice.
Mike,
I remember.
It was what was it? It was Jeshua.
That me? I don't think that was me.
Jeshua. I think it was Casey that ruled it or something.
Casey did rule it. So, all right, I'll tell you. So
the Fate is my weapon.
Yeah, Fate is my weapon.
I think we ruled it. Okay. Yes, you could, because it just says friendly. It's just targeting your opponent essentially.
Correct.
That's it.
Correct. So essentially, like, he can't affect his buddy's dice and make his buddy's dice better, but if his buddy is in combat with an enemy, he can affect the enemy's dice. So there's a couple little edge cases here and there, but the doubles event
with Blooded too. Phobos, or sorry, not Blooded, and Blooded just says when a enemy dies, it doesn't specify Blooded.
Right.
If
the other one kills.
That was another one we found while we were doing this. Actually, not super broken. They actually GW did a great job separating people's like actual keywords really well.
It could be the fact that they actually did include doubles rules, right? In the actual rule book.
Yeah,
really good.
Yeah,
and it's one of my favorite. It is. I would say it is by far the best thing about this edition. I have my gripes about, small things here and there, but in the end, the NPO and the double stuff is by far the best change from last edition to this edition. And if you don't have a doubles event in your area, you should not wait until next Valentine's Day. You should schedule one as soon as possible because it is a lot of fun. You get to bring out, you can take your homie who's not very good, and have him come out and you both can go. And that's what happened with Jesh. Jesh brought his brand new homie and was like, all right, we're going to play this broken ass team and we're going to shit all over everyone. Right?
And they did.
And he did. I'm not
one.
salty. He didn't beat us in the last round. We were playing for first place too. Death Corps still suck. I will say it right now.
How many gunners did you guys
Giacomo? A lot.
We had a lot of gunners.
We had 2 Meltas, 2 plasmas, 2 crack grenades, 2 leaders with plasmas and chains and swords. We were broken. But Death Corps dice are still Death Corps dice.
It's just a little rough.
And once you start to fall apart, you die.
On a side note, doing doubles actually opened up a whole new way to play the game, right? There's a whole different meta for playing doubles, right? Like we played teams that are on one-on-ones, like historically bad, but we did so good. Even though we lost at the final one, we had 2
Meltas.
We had 2 Meltas. That's what helps. But that's what I'm saying, right? Like we changed the way the meta plays now, this meta, and we only lost by 3 points. Like it wasn't that bad of a loss.
A couple small mistakes that I made. Giacomo didn't make any. That the game we might have won. We could have won.
It could have, right? So playing doubles and the way you guys ran it, which was very professional, guys. You did an awesome job.
Thank you.
Of course. It makes for a new type of playing, right? Because I was talking to some friends about it and they thought they pointed this out to me like, oh, so you could kind of make like a completely different meta build. And Dakotah and I kind of noticed that he had very expendable models where Casterkin doesn't want to expend models at all. So he was covering my what I lacked. And I'm able to hit on 3s, which, he doesn't always hit on 3s. So I'm able to just hit a little bit more.
Even with ceaseless, I would miss. I had an accurate 1. Ceaseless, and I still would only hit once.
God. And then you just get blocked.
Didn't matter. Ask my Melta.
So
Blade Marine loves
picking up our slacks. So this creates a new meta, which I really liked about doubles. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix of, I think, two things, right? One is not every team has a full roster of good models, right? Like you look at any team, right? You'd be like, yeah, half the team is great. You have the gunners, you have your sergeant, you have maybe 1 or 2 really good guys like a comms guy, and then the other half of the team is like, kind of filler, right? In a doubles tournament, you're only looking at your best half of a team, and that's enough. And like that, it makes Kazakhstan a really good choice, I think. And then the other issue is kind of like how Inquisition can pick and choose half a team to augment their own team. You can, instead of having like what you guys did, right? All gunners just blow the other team off the table like a leaf blower. You could have instead run like Rattlings with Ogrins and really shoring up your close combat weakness with some really big tanks.
Or I could have played Chaos Colt.
Yeah,
and I could have had a bunch of Torments,
exactly. Torments and Nightmare Hulks with the Gellerpox.
Yeah,
which people did.
Yeah, 4 Nightmare Hulks.
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways to really skew your list, but also a lot of ways to make a very balanced list, or a balanced team, I should say. So I think it's really a format worth looking into in terms of like competitive.
Yeah, and
it's super fun.
And your guys' rules for the event were very good. I question, Liam. I told you, I was like, hey, we were doing something for our narrative at LVO. I was like, you should steal from what you can, and you built on it. It looks like, but I want to see, did you, or did you just fucking wing that shit?
Okay, so we actually just revamped our last year Valentine's Day rules, and we just kind of like flipped through the book again, and we're like, okay, let's check it out. And the only things we really found that were super broken was teams not splitting their equipment points in this edition. So you could, one team might have a lot of good equipment that you just want to take. And in this, our doubles, like, if you have faction equipment, you can't share it with your other faction, right? They don't share the same keywords. So that was a problem, especially when you have teams like Star Striders who take like a gajillion options, and people would just bring Star Striders to just stack equipment. So what we did is we just made it so you had to split the equipment as evenly as possible, which, sharing is caring, and we preferred that anyways. And then everything else, like, honestly, I did not look at yours. I
literally just did the NPO thing from.
Yeah, we just pulled it from last year's doubles, which, by the way, anybody can look at the event. I don't know where it'll be, but you can check out the rules there or the packet if you want to run this as your own. It's not trademarked or anything, so go crazy, you guys. Have fun. It's for everybody.
Easy way is just use the built-in rulebook NPO rules, and you can just point everyone at it and say, hey, that's GW lays out how to do doubles. Ours was tweaked because we've done it before. But yeah, easy way, just it's in the rulebook. Just play it that way. Everyone's good. Yeah. Everyone has the same rules.
The only other thing that I saw that was smart that you guys did was you guys could take any TAC ops. People are going to ask how were TAC ops done, right? TAC ops were done by, you could take any TAC op that either team had access to, right? So Plant Bacon was happening a lot, but me and Giacomo, I told Giacomo he should have played Inquisition. We would have had Plant Bacon. We would have had an extra model, but
we would have been the same team.
We probably would have lost.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had Severe.
Yeah,
we want some competitive flex too. Like, we don't want if you take a team that only has security and like recon or whatever, whatever two TAC ops you both share the same. Like, we want you to pick a team that maybe flexes into something like Plant Bacon or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, we literally just had security and seek and destroy. It was awful. It was literally awful.
Somehow we
security
did it.
It is.
We made it to near the end.
We did. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great event. You guys did a good job. But there are other types of events that are starting to look around, right? In fact, I think we're probably going to steal your guys' duos events for some time next year, but it might be even after your guys' next year's event, because our schedule for this year is already packed, right? Our October event is going to be taking a lot of which we can't talk about yet, but it's going to be taking a lot of our own resources. So we're not going to be able to do as many events as we typically would do this year because of this crazy event. And then we're going to specifically take off November and December just because, I am trying to have a better work-life balance so my wife doesn't murder me.
Good idea.
But there is something that me and Mike were talking about, and actually we had probably the most level-headed educational discussion that I've had with somebody. And it was about a lot of people were saying Worlds was not competitive because of the 4-hour rounds or 3-hour rounds. And it's not as competitive as the standard 2-hour rounds or 2 hours and 15-minute rounds that some people do, right? And then we started talking about something called Kill Team Blitz. Mike, I want you to tell me exactly what you did because you 100% convinced me that Worlds was still competitive. And do you remember what you said?
Vaguely. I think that was when I was just coming down with COVID.
Yep.
But
I was calling to make sure you're okay. You're halfway dying, but that's okay.
Yeah. I was looking at it from the perspective of chess, and the idea was there are different formats of chess for different time limits, and all of these formats are competitive games. They're just different games. So if you play a 4-hour game of Kill Team, which I've played before, it's a very different game. You're not going to blunder anywhere near as often as a 2-hour game, or perhaps even a shorter game. So yeah, again, the main point was you can set the clock for however long you want, and that will be a competitive game within that time frame.
As long as both players can complete it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I likened it to like Worlds and their schedule of 3 hours or 4-hour rounds. Not everyone can do that kind of schedule because most game stores are only open for so long in a day, right? So like if they open at 10, they're probably going to close by 10. It's 12 hours. You might be able to do 3-hour games, which is a very, means that you have to have less than 8 players to have one undefeated player, right? Or it has to be 2 days, and then there's 3-hour, and it's like taking up the entire store period. Rather difficult. Worlds is a very special place with 4 days where they get to do a bunch of different kind of stuff, right? So it's completely different than anything else, and it's still very competitive. It's the best players in the world. It was just, very difficult for some people. Everyone wanted to just play 2-hour games, right? But it was nice being able to play 3-hour rounds with people who had language barriers and stuff like that, because people from all over the world, or 4-hour rounds on this final 2 days. Then you see kind of the standard 2-hour rounds, which is what everyone considers the most competitive, what everyone typically does these days, right? It kind of gives everyone like enough time that they don't feel super rushed to play a game, to finish a game. But some people still struggle to finish in that amount of time. And then me and Mike were talking about something called Kill Team Blitz. And I think there's some really exciting possibilities for that. I find that Kill Team, the longest part of Kill Team is deployment, right? When I'm a TO and I'm walking around and you haven't fully deployed in 20 minutes, there's a problem, right? You should be, if both teams should be fully deployed in 15 minutes, right? I've walked around and I've seen 2 players not have players fully set up on the board 45 minutes into the game. That's nearly half of the time gone, right? I'm like, what is going on? Is people going to the bathroom? You guys chatting too much? Like, I'll just immediately put them on a clock, because both players that now have so little time, it's rather important. So Blitz is kind of how I envision Blitz. I think that we both had a little bit different time metrics, right? But it's you have a clock. Both players have 7 minutes to set up their models. So it's a 15-minute or 10-minute time clock to set up all your models and all your positions. Then each player has 20 minutes to play the game, right? And then you're allowed to pause in between rounds to do scoring, roll dice. So in the end, the game is about, I think it's about an hour to 70 minutes with the pauses. That allows a possibility of 7 rounds in a single day, right? Now, there's some crazy things that people don't know about on BCP. BCP has hidden round settings and player settings. The more rounds you have, the more points you get, right? Unless if it's a league. If it's a league, they don't get any points from rounds from leagues. They stay at a standard 3. There's a player metric, which is a big multiplier, and then there's the other multiplier, which is rounds. And then there's another one, which is undefeated, but we don't have to get into that right now. So I think that Blitz is a very intriguing kill team idea, because it's just move your models intuitively as fast as you can, roll dice. Both players have to know the rules. You're just trying to pound out a game in an hour, right? And you have like a 10-minute break and you go to the next one. Then you got lunch, 30 minutes, you come back and you just do another. You can basically complete 2 games in the amount of time that you would complete one typically. Liam, what do you think about this?
I think this format, me and Mike we're going to be doing a lot of tests on this, because we actually think it has some real competitive, we think the same thing you think, which is you can fit more matches in the thing, which also makes it more competitive by default. We can actually really check the metrics and be like, okay, wow, they're actually getting to where their top placement should be. They're playing players that they would actually play when they are at the top, instead of when you do a 3-round event, sometimes people go undefeated. 4 rounds would be more preferable, but doesn't always fit in the day. So this format actually does put a competitive edge on it. Also, this kind of format actually makes it where it rewards player knowledge really, really, really well. So, hey, I know what your team does. I don't have to ask any questions. I'm going to play the game, and I don't have to waste my time asking you questions about it. Because as you know, and everybody else here who's played on the clock knows, when you ask questions, it's on your time. Hey, what does your guy do? I click my time. I'm asking you. Let me tell you about my book or whatever. I'm asking them questions, so it's all my time. But it really rewards people who just know the game well and know the teams well. And I think that format really fits well in the Blitz format.
Mm-hmm. I would be okay with also adding an extra 10 minutes to the beginning just so people can familiarize, like having like a 20-minute deployment so that players could really familiarize each other with each other's teams before they really just dive right in, and this having like a 70 to 80-minute game, which isn't bad. I know that there's a bunch of people in Russia who play on 90-minute games, right? They think that if anyone takes longer than 90 minutes, they're bad at Kill Team. Apparently we're all bad. But Giacomo, what do you think about Kill Team Blitz?
I actually dig the format because I'm in agreement. It rewards people who know their team, know their opponent's team. I like the little extra minutes because there's times where like I'm mostly familiar with someone's team, but it's just like there's like one or two things I got to look up just to make sure what I'm going up against. I'm for it. I'm for a different format, right? I still like the 2 hours. I'm totally fine with doing a 1 hour game and just chugging through them, right? Because you can really do something with it, right? Playing Angels of Death a lot, just go. He moves forward. All right, he shoots. That's it. Done. Pass turn. All right, fast. Go quickly. You gotta be upfront with your turns.
Yeah. What about you, Mike? And then I'll give my final thoughts on Blitz.
I think so. I had two major thoughts. One was the time allowed has to be tested and tuned for both large teams and small teams, right? Like if an Inquisition Agents player might play fast and still take 30 minutes of the game time, whereas Angel of the Death player where 40 or 6 models are exactly the same, pretty easy, right? I'm not sure where that sweet spot is, which is why I want to do a lot of testing before we talk about like actually running a tournament with it. And the other thought is the whole idea of this came up after the discussion with Dakotah, also with my personal pet peeve that I still think every large tournament or every major tournament, everyone should be required to clock. I don't like the idea that people are allowed to choose to not use the clock, because it makes a feel bad moment where sometimes one player is very adamant about not using a clock and the other one is adamant about using a clock, and then the rule is as long as one player wants to use a clock, you have to. Well, then it puts all the, am I a bad person for forcing the other guy who really doesn't want to play on a clock? And I know that happened in LVO. It was fine. The game ended on time, but it was close. And I don't like that feel bad moment. I just rather have it in the rules saying, hey, guess what? Everyone's using a clock. It's not optional. It's required, and you can't opt out, even if you both agree. Then it came, well, why don't we just play a faster game then? Because I don't know if you remember, Dakotah, but when Liam and I and you went to Salt Lake City Grand Tournament last year, there was, I think, day 2 or whatever, the last day 3, I guess. Day 2? Like it went a little bit late, and we had a plane ticket. We had to leave. We had to fly back to Vegas. So I played Zach from Cascadia, and we put ourselves on a very low clock time. We played a very fast game. I think we were done in maybe 45 minutes total. And looking back at that game, it was probably the most fun game of Kill Team I've ever played. And as far as the number of blunders we had, maybe 1 or 2 each. But turns out, dice do dice things, right? It really smooths over some of the skill involved in the game. Not all of it. Definitely not all of it. Otherwise, you wouldn't see the same players placing the top, right? But if you have one blunder, and guess what? You roll all 6s. Hey, it wasn't a blunder, was it?
Nope.
So it turns out, like, I think if you're experienced in the game, your first instinct is usually the correct one. Yeah, given more time, you can think about it, and you can maybe come up with a slightly better odds thing to do. But usually, it's going to be your first thought if you play the game enough. So I think a Blitz format really takes all these things together and makes a pretty compelling idea.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that Blitz is going to be a good thing for the game, right? I will disagree that I think the best place to test it is at tournaments, because more people will come up to you and tell, like, you can, like, rather than just sitting down and like you knowing the rules, your opponent knowing the rules and doing it, you can get like real life feedback on like, oh, this is a really good amount of time. And each region might feel a little bit differently. Sure, us as third party organizers, we will come together and we will probably say like, this is what we recommend, right? But we're not Games Workshop. So Games Workshop doesn't even believe in clocks, right? So, so the fact that like, we're allowing players to use clocks and figure out clocks, I think is going to be something very fun. And I think that it's going to be good. The other thing is if you're planning on doing a Blitz tournament, let your players know, make it big and open, and let them know. Don't have people show up and then be like, oh yeah, the round is only an hour. I know there was a time last year before the new edition came out where we were going to go to a Games Workshop event. Giacomo, do you remember this?
Was it the one in San Diego?
No, this was at the store in Monrovia.
Oh, yeah.
And so I called and I asked him, I was like, hey, man, how long are the rounds? And he was like, oh, they're going to be 45-minute rounds. And I was like, you can't play a kill team game in 45 minutes. And he was like, oh, no, it'll be fine. Games Workshop says an hour, we'll just play a little fast. And I was like, I'm literally the world's like largest TO. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just saying like you cannot complete a game in 45 minutes with setup and everything. Right. Turns out they couldn't complete a game in 45 minutes and they had to extend the rounds a lot. I did not go because I found out it was 45-minute rounds. Right. But they didn't make that open into the public. I had to call and ask. So the thing is to make sure that you have either a packet or you have your event details are correct on Best Coast Pairings or wherever you are running an event. Okay. I think that's something that's super important as a TO or as people. I don't know if you guys know this, but events are exploding everywhere, right?
Oh, yeah.
Me and Giacomo have more competition in LA and from the Bay Area up north and from you guys than ever before, right? Which is great, May the best win. Sorry.
Hey, you guys can come to my events.
Yeah. If you're in the Vegas area, make sure you do go to their events. They're amazing. And the store is awesome. What was it called? Shall We Play?
Yeah. Shall We Play North Las Vegas?
Yeah. Big shout out to them. They were kind. They were great. And the store was pretty much better than any store in the Los Angeles area that we've been to, other than maybe the old Gameology.
Hard to have that. It's such a nice guy.
Yeah, he's the entire store staff was quite awesome. Then we have a couple other types of games, right? We have teams events, right? Which this is a soft spiel into the All Valley Team Tournament. There are two types of team events. There's a 3-person team event and a 5-person team event. I still do not think that Kill Team is big enough. And there's also 8-person team events. I don't think Kill Team is big enough to run 5-man events. You can, but if you only have if you have 25 players show up, you're going to have 5 teams. If you had 3 players, then you're going to at least have, what is it? 6 teams? 7 teams? 8 teams?
Oh, yeah. I don't do public math anymore.
Yeah. People will flame us in the comments. Especially for me looking like Dwight, right?
Oh.
All right. Sorry.
Destroyed him.
Yeah. Mentally. But 40K, right? They have 8-man team events because they have like 600-person team events, we don't have that. Like the largest team event last year was the WTC. They beat us by 4, right? They had 72 and we had 66 at AVTT. It gets to me that we weren't the biggest.
They were also international. We were just one location. So that's
we will beat them this year. You hear me? Francois? We will beat you this year. Sorry. All right. We probably won't, but we'll try.
We'll try.
Go for it.
Try.
Go for it.
But essentially, you have a sword and shield type deployment. You have 3 different maps, or 5, or 8, right? And then you kind of go through. You roll a dice. The team that wins the dice off gets to choose a board. The other team gets to choose a different board. And then from the remaining players, they usually send up 2 defenders against one person who's the attacker. And then they're like, okay, since I got to choose the board, I have priority. So I get to choose I'm either going to have to fight Harlequins or I'm going to have to fight Mandrakes. Well, crap. I guess I'll take Mandrakes, right? But when you're playing team events, there's like extra strategy in just the setup phase. And sometimes it's worth it to have a coach helping take that mental stress off of other players, right? They don't even play. They're just there with cheerleader pom-poms and they help with the strategy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes they'll be like, hey, so-and-so just lost. You need to win this game, and it's just like, but like, that's all they can do during the game. They can't offer advice or any of that kind of stuff. No double playing or any of that kind of stuff. But team events are absolutely amazing. Nova has one and we have another one. Those are the two largest team events in outside of doubles in the US. And then the WTC has the other, right? So it's us three in the world that I am aware of. I think we had 66 players. They had like 70 or something. There was, what's the next one's coming up? The next team. Do you guys have anything to mention about teams? Because I know Liam.
I went. Yeah.
You came to the All Valley. Mike, you have not yet.
Hopefully, it comes this year.
This year's my plan.
And also team events are how me and Giacomo bonded. Our very first event together was a 40K team event where we both got flipping slaughtered together. Yeah. 40K. It was a wonderful time.
Good
Liam,
times.
what do you think about team events?
I went to your ABTT and I absolutely loved it. I love the format. I think that the like draft pick kind of style where you're like, actually, I want this map. And then we get to pick the opponent. That kind of stuff really it makes a team format actually feel like a team, which is something, some events struggle with, especially when you're just like, hey, go off in there and play your own game. It's nice to have like a little huddle before you actually get into, fighting your own player. And I think that also opens up for like, as we mentioned with like a duos event, a team event, it really kind of changes up the meta because now you get to kind of pick. So I took Exaction Squad last year to ABTT and it team sucks, but in a draft pick scenario, it actually turns out it's not too bad. You can actually drag somebody down with you too.
Yeah.
So
it's called a skew list.
It's
typically
fun.
Like Pathfinders are a skew list, right? You can take Pathfinders to events and then just specifically fish for like teams that you're good against and you can beat, right? Or vice versa, right? Or I'm just going to take Angels of Death and I just run over Felgor all the time. It's like, I'm going to try to find the Felgor matchup.
Yeah, we took Exaction to specifically counter elf teams. So Exaction Squad does handle elf teams pretty well. In theory, right? I mean, we tried as much as we could. They also handle 7 wound teams pretty well. But pretty much anything else, they just fall over. They lose very slowly and they'll lose. Everybody will score low and they'll lose.
Yeah, if this is truly the spring and summer of the elves, you might see a lot of Exaction at AVTT.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. We'll have to see if there's another balanced data slate by then, or if they just delay it for another 3 months. Who knows?
The next balanced data slate will be next edition. It's fine.
Wow. We're fine. Incredible.
Yep. New game, new rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was my favorite. I loved AVTT. Absolutely.
Yeah,
one of my favorites.
It's funny because the doubles event has the same camaraderie and energy because that's what you're looking for. When you go to these team events, you go to doubles events. If you lose together. You can cry in the parking lot with a friend, or you could go drink in the parking lot with a friend, or you can celebrate together by losing in a glorious fashion or winning in a glorious fashion, right? And the best thing is like solo events, sure, they're fun, they're cool. You get all the glory for yourself and all the misery for yourself when you win and lose. But these other kinds of events, you have friends that you can go out and have dinner with, or you can have breakfast with, you can strategize with. You have actual teammates, which makes the event so much better. It's so hard to explain how much better it is to have someone there through your ups and your downs. Maybe you lose every game, but your homies drag you through the finish line, like through the very first AVTT, right? That's how Jonathan Marquis won his very first AVTT with his team, right? Literally, he got thrown to the wolves. He had to fight Chris Baki. He had to fight Jimmy Kelly. He had to fight every hard player with release Hyrotech Circle. He got literally stomped every game. And they still won the event because his two homies were like, don't worry, we know they're bad. We're just going to throw you into the hardest player and we're going to win. And they did. It's amazing.
2 out of 3. Yeah. Easy.
Yeah. I also think these events, and this is just me, like, I truly think this is how you make memories and friends in duos and team tournaments. Sometimes you just go by yourself. We met some amazing people at AVTT, friends that we constantly call on to come out here and play games with us if they can. And truthfully, I think that kind of just brings the environment of, hey, I don't know you, but we have something in common and I really enjoy playing this game. So, hey, you want to hang out? And it's sometimes not all wins, but hey, for us, it's been all wins. And we've always had happy memories with our friends going and meeting new people who get to come and join us. Because I think it was me and Casey, and then we brought another 2 friends of ours. We brought V and Brian. Mm-hmm. And both of those guys showed up, and we both had random teammates, and they were amazing. So no hard, no foul. We loved it.
Yeah, I think that's the some of the best things. And sure, you can experience the same thing as a solo player. You can go with a competitive team, or you can just be going to learn to make friends. Right? You can go and meet people from Discord and be like, "Oh, I know you. You're so and so." I don't know. Dude, sometimes they're like, "Oh, hey, Dakotah," they're talking to me and I have no idea who they are. And they're like, "Oh, I'm so-and-so on Discord." I was like, "Oh, I literally talk to you all the time. What's up, bro?" Two different worlds.
I think that camaraderie is amazing. So that's my probably favorite part about those events.
We should get little name tag stickers that say, "Hello, I'm," and then put your Discord name.
I like that.
My favorite strat is when I don't know somebody's name. I'm like, "Oh, what's your name?" And they go, "Oh, blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Oh, what's your Discord name though?"
There you go. I'm gonna steal that.
I'm like, "How do you spell that?" And they're like, CHRIS, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay, that didn't work out." I'm almost hoping for some really hard to spell name. I'm like, "Oh no, it's right. How did you spell your last name?" That's how I get them to say their name again.
We try.
Yeah,
and they're like so BRIAN, right?
Yeah. We're bad with names. Sorry.
Yeah,
no, nothing personal.
That's fair. I'm bad with names too. All tournament organizers are bad with names. So there's a couple other types of events that are out there. We have NPO and narrative events, right? NPO events are very much like beginner friendly. You team up with somebody and you're fighting against bad guys. Now, the number one thing about NPOs in events, settings and stuff, you make it as hard as you want to. If you want to win, you're going to win. You're going to force the bad guys to do different things because you're playing against yourself, right? So it's always a feel-good area. It's a good time to teach people. It's a great teaching event, right? You don't have to have like a bunch of people come out and get slaughtered by the Jimmy Kellys, and while he has a smile on his face and he's like, "Oh yeah, dude, you're such a nice guy. I'm number 1 in ITC. It's nice to meet you for the first." No, die, Now Jimmy's very nice, but like you don't have those kinds of things. Instead, you can team up with people that either don't know the game very well or know the game really, really well and help people learn how to play the game while fighting people in a much less competitive setting, thus bringing more people, children, women, men into the scene, right? And narrative events are very similar, though I have found that narrative events are just as sweaty as competitive events. Really? I always thought narrative was this is not the case for everything, right? But I always thought narrative was like for funds, friendly, but sometimes, they still got to go hard on the story, and I'm like, all right, we're learning. But narrative is the better story you have, the better elements that you have to it, props, actors, metrics like the Mesozoic system, which you guys will hear more about on another video when we bring in that person who made that, which we will be teaming up with for the next Las Vegas Open and future stuff. It's a different card system, right? For narrative. And you can help build things and do things through this card system to make your narrative events better, right? Big fan. It was pitched very, very well, and I was like a fish. Hook, line, and sinker, right? Yeah, and then there was just standard and long format. I think we've pretty much gone over all. Is there any other type of formats you guys know of?
Yeah, I want to throw out League there. I mean, it is technically a long format, but it's done over, it can be done over months if you want, or however sure you really want it to be. But I think at the end of our duos event, I announced we're doing a League, which we're still going to iron out those the growing pains of how to do a League. I haven't done one in Kill Team yet, so I'm going to figure that out. But we also want to make sure people get their fake internet points too. So that's another thing. And we actually think the long format actually fits, fake internet point format on BCP pretty well. So I think Leagues is something to look into for people who are like, wow, I really don't have a lot of people in my area, but I could find more people. And if we have, 2 months to do it, I'm sure somebody will come out here. I think that I think leagues are a great thing, especially for building community slowly, getting people used to kind of these kinds of things. It's relatively easy, Liam. You're like, hey, this week we're going to be running this map and on Volcus, right? And we're playing loot, right? So you can either have a 1 week, 2 week, or a 3 week in between period, right? I don't suggest 3 weeks, but 2 weeks is probably fine. Where you're like, hey, you have to get this game in the next 2 weeks, right? Very casual. You could do a more accelerated one of I believe 1 week at a time, right? Yeah, I think our current format we're looking at is like 1 week at a time. So, and then
which for Kill Team can be done. You don't have to carry as much stuff.
No, yeah, I dread people who don't have the terrain. Like ITD is one that not everybody has, and I wish they did, but oh man.
Secret tip: always recommend a place to meet that where will be terrain so they can use it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Unfortunately, in the Vegas area, I think one store has one set of Octarius, and think that's it.
Can you guys leave a set of terrain?
Yeah, so the benefit is we do 2 weekly game sessions for Kill Team gatherings every week in Vegas, and we do them on different sides of the valley, specifically to hit up different people who don't want to drive to both or can't make it to both, right? So we do one in the south on Tuesdays, and then we do one at Shall We Play on Saturdays. So between those, we should be able to accommodate people who don't have any terrain, and we're also allowing TTS. Okay. So if they're a little more savvy, they can do it that way.
You don't want to let them know that, because I don't think ITC allows any TTS play whatsoever.
How does CPTS do it then?
They don't have ITC points.
Oh, okay. We're not doing TTS.
Yeah, see, you're not doing TTS. Yeah, if you get caught, your TO account can get flagged and banned.
Okay,
we're definitely not doing that.
We're definitely not doing that.
Nope.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm just learning about that stuff too. So in long formats as well, and even over these short things, like coming to ITC / GW just announced their official TO packet thing where you have to submit. So I just submitted for that. I'm kind of excited to see what kind of support they bring out here. So we've been crowdfunding this through love of the game.
You're not going to get a ton of support from it. It's very useful to be a part of, right? But they typically. So here's the thing: Games Workshop can't really support tournament organizers as much as they would like, because they are a massive company and there are thousands of tournament organizers, right? I'm sure that they would love to send us all the terrain so that we could always play on their stuff, right? But I think feasibly it's not doable, right? Unfortunately, for such a large company to give out so much product and stuff, because they're still a company looking for profit in the end. But I will say that I've been a part of the tournament, the TO organizing program with them for quite some time now. And you get rules, right? So we'll get like codexes and stuff like that. They have sent us terrain, right? Like I think they've done it twice. So like it's still possible to get things from it, but they're kind of like organized play pack will go to stores, and it's usually just like once, or from what I've seen at least. And hopefully, we'll see more of that kind of stuff here in the future. But I would also say that almost all of tournament organizing is fully self-funded, right? So it's important to always try to never run in the red so that you don't get burned out.
Yeah.
That is the one thing I've always said to every TO I meet, and you guys have a great method of, driving sales. You're in Vegas. You guys are allowed to do raffles and gamble and whatever else out there, it's all legal from what I know of.
We do pretty good. We have a awesome community out here that too just really loves the game. Like we had somebody just donate their time and money for some catering towards our event.
It's amazing.
We had I painted a raffle team, and all that stuff goes into like a war chest at that store. So Shall We Play gets all the money, and then it ends up being something like where we can buy a box for an upcoming tournament from them. So we don't make any money off these events. Actually, they're just all basically for the next event. It all rolls right back into the community for the community. And I think that's a really strong point for a lot of people. I know there's profit to be made off of, doing some events, but for us in this local Vegas community, it's really about the community and just giving it right back to them. And we always have been very transparent on how that money gets put out to people. And I think even through like our duos, our regular tournaments, it's very important that people get prize support and that they also want to come and be with their friends. So we find that just doing like a community driven event, you'd be surprised. We do 3D printed stuff, and that's all community stuff. That's not just me. I was listening to your podcast actually about running events, and something really struck me in those is, you need people around you that truly love this game. You're only one person. You can only be in one place at a time. So Mike, we also have Casey, V, Kyle, all these people in our community. They really put out for these events, and without them, I just couldn't be everywhere at once. Just not possible. Also, another thing is, as an event organizer, you're responsible for making it fun for people there. Those two things really resonated with me. So.
Yeah, you guys did a great job. You guys have taken everything and you guys have really started rolling the ball. And I'm so excited to see another scene get really big, right? Like we've seen outside of us, and New York and Baltimore, right? We saw the Pacific Northwest start to grow and swell and get huge, right?
Oh, I love
now we're
seeing,
now we're seeing Las Vegas getting bigger, and then we're seeing the Bay Area getting bigger, right? So it's just like a snowball. From firstly, Games Workshop, thank you for making a wonderful game, but also just like the people around it who love it, and then being able to help support them and make them better. Like me and Giacomo for the past 2 years have gone up to the Bay Area and ran events for all of those lovely people, right? On occasion. We can't do it this year because, exciting things in October. But next year we plan on returning to the Bay Area, maybe we'll try to do in Arizona or something like that one of these times too, or, a Vegas one or something like that, where we can rent out like a large venue or something.
Me and Casey just went to a local Sacramento one and we loved it. It was Acadian Fight Club. So shout out to them. It was an amazing event.
Sean Boudreau, Shay McNay, and Sammy Miria, right? Sammy won LVO.
Yep. And Sammy was there, and I truly thought it was great. I mean, and tickets for us are only like, $47. So we just flew out there, had a weekend, and then came
plane
back.
Tickets.
Yeah. Just a plane from Vegas. Hey, and that's a good thing. Traveling, it's cheap in some places. So if you're able to do it, I mean, it's truly only like a bus ticket sometimes.
Find your advantages.
Yeah, where you can. Well, those are awesome.
Yeah, the best thing about Vegas is that all the flights are usually subsidized pretty heavily. So depending on the time of year, you can find really cheap things to go to Chiller's events, or Mike's events, Other places are a little bit more expensive to get to, like LA and New York, but we live where we live. So But yeah, is there any other shout outs that you guys have for this or anything like that?
Yeah. So I just wanted to also say for some of the event stuff, we've also found some good success in, also doing like crazy little events like duos and stuff like that. We found some success in doing other things like bounty boards. We've done also like little side quests for people. And we actually got it from you too, where, I mean, hey, don't reinvent the wheel. If we can steal it, we'll steal it. But
Totally agree.
But like doing best of super factions and stuff like that. And people really latch onto those things. They love going for those things. So
Yeah.
I think those also make events fun too, just in also these other formats. I think Kill Team as a game, putting little side missions in there really drives up the, I really want to play aspect. So
Yeah, we Christmas event we drop presents in the table, and the presents have no in-game effect at all unless you specifically go out of your way to pick them up. And there's at least 2 or 3 players every time we run a Christmas event whose goal becomes to get the most Christmas presents, not to win games. So it's almost a hit. It's great.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's so fun. We like little tiny things that just drive these games into like it's just a game of Kill Team too. Oh, it's a game of Kill Team Plus. That's really like the fun out here.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, there's a lot of really fun things that people can do at events, and all events are literally limited just by the basics of the rules of Kill Team and your creativity, right? Like the people up north in the Pacific Northwest, they do tons of stuff. They do a lot of bounty board stuff. They do a lot of stuff for charity as well, right? And like the Bay Area, I think they had a really fun bounty system for charity as well, right? Sometimes for me specifically, I think that bounties can be a lot. When you have the more players you get, sometimes it can get, a little stressful, but like something that me and Giacomo do for the All Valley is that we have the Forged Brush, right? Which is a Kill Team painting tournament itself, right? Which is like a self-contained just painting event that people can bring their models to that is not a part of the All Valley. The All Valley has their own painting stuff, but that's one that's like completely separate. And me and G just absolutely love hobby. So we really try to do that at least once a year. What were you going to say?
I think you changed my mind on hobby. So I used to be kind of like, paint scores, best painted, but we tried your new Matrix and we loved it. It was really easy to score. It was very like, I like subjective scoring where it's like, hey, beauty in the eye of the beholder, right? I really think that's kind of some judging, but also having like kind of an outline to follow as well. And it truly made the judging super quick. And I'm not going to steal it from you. You can explain it because I was learning it myself that day. But that's the first time in this Duos event that I've ever submitted a hobby ITC. So I think I'm going to do that from now on. I think it's just so cool to see. It was awesome seeing stuff that our community was just like, wow, that's incredible. Okay, how do you do
our
that?
Goal, our goal, Giacomo's goal. I know Aiden won best painted,
Yes,
and Alexander Popov had a wonderful display as well. I know he was a finalist. Those two people definitely deserved first and second or
you
third.
brought out your
I'm
thing
sure.
too. Your giant display. That thing was so incredible.
I won a thing at Worlds. It doesn't need any more trophies. Okay. So, the hobby. So 2 episodes ago on our channel, we had something about the how we're changing hobby track so that it's a little bit more in line with GW, and also it makes it a lot faster to score. It's something that we kind of innately changed over the past 3 years of running events, right? Because when we first did it, man, it was just a slog. We would always just do it. No one else wanted to do hobby track because they're like, yo, dude, this is too much. Okay, the next year we added subjective and we changed a bunch of things. And it was still a slog for us, and people still didn't want to do it. We found that TOs really only want to do hobby track when it's really simple, which isn't a bad thing. I totally agree. It adds a lot of stuff. It really became just a labor of passion and love. So this year we completely revamped it to make it super fast and super easy. And the quick gist of how to score hobby track is you have to go on BCP to your event and submit the hobby track token that you need to get for the 2025 season. When you go into your event, you click on soft scores. And if they don't already have hobby track added in there, you just type in hobby track. And then you would add in a score for each person. Just like any other event, your score is equal to your placing. It doesn't matter what number you put in there. If you try to cheese a system by giving somebody 300 points, they're not going to get 300 points. Okay. It's not up to you. It's up to Best Coast Pairings. They will give out an appropriate amount of hobby track points according to the size and rounds of your event. Okay. And that's it. They don't have to win anything. They don't have to be good at the game. All they have to do is play one game. They have to play one game. If they don't play one game, it doesn't, they're dropped, right? Yeah. So we have a quick thing of like, if it's battle ready, it's 30. If it's parade level, it's 40. If it's showcase level, it's 70 and up. And then the final, however many players you have, your final top rankings are listed in first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. And then if you want to go into more detail for your lower placings so that they're not all tied for specific numbers, which sucks for some people. I don't do it. But it's like, hey, these guys are all above parade, but not this. So we're going to give them all 60, 62, 63 for the best ones of those, so on and so forth. And then you can kind of delineate more from there. Super fast, super simple. Art is in the eyes of the beholder. The more you know about painting, the more impressed you can be by certain things, right? And if you're not super great at it, then pull up somebody from the community that is. Just make sure they're not also competing, because then that's conflict of interest.
Yes.
Yeah. So we had 3 people judging, including myself, and none of those guys submitted, but we were like, "Oh, this is great! This is so fast, so fast!" And all these look amazing. And I think that's just really important. Exactly, that is. It used to take a lot of time, and that's kind of why I was super discouraged of doing it. But after seeing how your scoring works, it's just like, perfect. I can do this. This is easy. I can do this.
Yeah. Also, we don't typically. So we'll go around and we'll do hobby track during round 1. And then we'll go up and tell people like, hey, you're in the showcase. Please put your models up at lunch. Hey, you're in the showcase. Your models are up at lunch. And then we typically will give them something. So it's like a secondary prize saying that you're in the showcase, right? And then in the future, we're going to give out finalist pins. So if we have 3 prizes to give out, we'll give out 6 finalist pins, right? So we'll give out the double the number. If there's like 10 hobby trophies, we'll give out 20 finalist pins, so that some people can be like, I didn't make the finals, I'm just going to bounce, right? And if you did, you're like, oh, I didn't win. Okay, So
I like LVO because it has that like hobby showcase part, and I would love to bring that to my events. I just have to figure out how to do it.
Well, I will say, the more that people see that stuff at your events, the more it's like a contagion. People see display boards and they're like, oh, that's a thing.
That's what
I'm
happened.
gonna make one for my orcs, and
that's what happened.
And naturally just starts happening. Mike, what about you? You've been you were a part of our hobby track judging at LVO, right?
Yeah. LVO was interesting judging hobby track because we had 3 people independently trying to judge, like, I don't know, must have been, definitely over 100 entries, right? I don't think everyone entered, but it was definitely over 100. So, we all had our own different, slightly subjective scores, but it was pretty obvious, at least for who deserved to be in which painting jobs and display boards were showcase quality. That was pretty easy to make a consensus on that. I really like the idea for smaller events of doing the judging during round 1, because it solves like 2 issues for me. One is people just don't want to submit their stuff. I'm like, you have really cool stuff. Like, you should definitely submit. They're like, nah, it's not going to win. I'm like, no, it's worth something, right? But 2, also, like, especially in smaller events, if you're doing paint judging during the lunch break of the tournament, that means the TOs don't get a lunch break. So
you get lunch break before or after.
Yeah, that's what I did this time because I've done it a couple times. So yeah, I ate right before the game started. But yeah, like, just having a break would be nice. So, but yeah, doing the judging during round one is a really good idea. We should definitely do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sold. I like lunch.
Yeah.
I don't get lunch, as Mike knows from LVO.
Forever TO.
You can walk
forever
around
no
with a
lunch.
sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
portable, man.
Yeah, I had people have to go run and get me hot dogs,
Oof.
or I was going to faint. But yeah, so, there's a lot of fun stuff, especially as TOs. If you're looking at becoming a tournament organizer, we have tons and tons of podcasts on things to look for, things to do, ways to be better, right? Always realize that you are not the best. Okay. You can always be better. And that goes the same for us. You always need to look critically at your events and what you can always do better and what you can do to make your players be better, have a more fun time within a fiscally responsible manner. Right? That's the other thing. So I've seen too many people have to go bankrupt and leave the gaming community altogether because they put too much money into the community and they're never able to get it back.
Right.
So it's too often a thing that we see. So, but yes, do you guys have any shout outs at the end of our episode?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
I'd just really like to shout out the Sin City Kill Team community in a whole. Everybody, if I didn't mention your name in this podcast, I definitely know who you are. And I'm super happy that you're a part of our community and you make it grow and show up to our events. If you don't, show up to them, have fun. If you're in the Vegas area and you're listening to this, absolutely come out to Shall We Play or wherever we're out on the south side of town. Just join the Discord and find out. But thank you so much for everybody who's just made this game incredible, and the people I've gotten to meet through it have been just incredible. I'm super happy, and thank you both for being an inspiration to TO too. I get a lot of my ideas from you guys. Like I said, hey, why steal it if it's good? I'm sorry.
Yep. That's the best way to do it.
Steal it if it's good. Don't reinvent the wheel, guys.
Steal it and improve it, and then
Absolutely.
we'll do the same back.
And yeah, just truly, people like Mike. Mike is awesome. He's allowed me to get off the bench to play this game too. So thank you so much.
How about you, Mike? Do you have any final shout outs or final thoughts? Because that's the other thing. I didn't ask anyone. Do you guys have any final thoughts about TOing and different kinds of events? We haven't had to hear a lot from G this episode.
One thought I had that just popped up randomly a few minutes ago was if you're a TO or you're in a community and you're thinking about running an NPO event, it's a really good opportunity to hobby some really cool looking teams that may not have models for Kill Team. You can grab all your Tyranids, you can grab your Necrons that aren't Immortals, right? You can grab your Cultists and make a mixed Cultist Space Marine team like the old Compendium. It's a really good opportunity to build some interesting NPO teams. And I love that. I love that hobby aspect as well. And I was talking to Liam the other day, probably yesterday, literally about how lucky we are in the community to have people who will donate their time and money, maybe not get all their money back, maybe get a little bit more extra, but we're just so lucky to have people who are willing to put these events together. Because, I mean, let's face it, like 95% of the people don't want to put events together, right? They want to play in them, but it's just a lot of work and a lot of dedication for a hobby it's not going to make people money. No one in this hobby makes a living.
Nope.
Some people make some supplementary income, but no one, unlike 40K, right? No one can really make a living off of Kill Team yet. So it's really for the love of the game, right? And I love that. And you guys are two of the best, three of the best.
It's a passion. I love it. I love this. I love it so much.
How about you, G?
Well, my philosophy stays the same. We've had the same thing before. Run a good event, improve, and just keep doing it. That's it. Be consistent.
What is our core philosophy that I came to you with because we went to 40K events
and we
went to
cut.
Well, there was that one. That's a big one. Tell them that one, G. There's a couple. I have a couple mission statements, but I think G knows most of them because I fucking never shut up.
Yeah, or at least I know a variation of them. Because who has time to read? I don't read rules. That's not true. I read rules. No, I just think it's important to try to run the best events you can. People are there to have a good time, and you want to just do the best you can. I guess I don't know. I really never to say on these things. I always feel like I'm repeating a lot of the same stuff.
Put G on the spot.
Yeah.
So I was looking for a specific answer. G failed the test. I'll tell you guys real quick. Me and G went to a team event, and they had foam terrain that was not painted, and I was upset. And I was like, "Why am I going to an event that doesn't have painted terrain?" Like they forced me to paint a team. It wasn't a team; it was an army, a 40K, and I have to play with fucking foam, right? So one of my things was to make our events better was that we will never put an unpainted terrain set on the table. It has to have 3 colors minimum because that is what we do, right? That is the. I mean,
it's what technically.
Technically, our Necron terrain is 2 colors. It is black and green, but they look fucking cool. So don't fucking at me, okay?
Tone.
Yeah. There's multiple tones of black with lighting of the venue. It's Necrons. They don't like colors. Unless if you're a colorful Necron, then I apologize. The other thing is that we both went to a team event and they gave out, we won, I think, 3rd place Renaissance out of 360 players. And they gave us 1 fucking cup.
For 5 people.
For 5 40K players. I was like, well, firstly, I can make this. I don't want it. One of our friends still drinks his alcohol out of that cup. I am not kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my other thing was whenever somebody comes to an event, we always have the trophies available for them. And if there's multiple people, we give out as many of those as possible. So if you get first place as a team, each person gets one. So they each get a ticket home. Those are some of our core, like if we're not doing this, we're doing something wrong. Right. And I think when you become a tournament organizer, it's really important to have some of those core philosophies that you kind of base and build your identity around. Because you know what? Some people don't care about painted terrain,
Yeah.
But for me, it's really, really important, and that's just my thing, like I've been to events that I will not name here that had 2 colors for ITD, and I was like, my terrain at least has 2 colors and the doors are a 3rd, just saying, you can see it.
At our event, you're going to turn around, but we painted everything.
You did.
There you go.
We made a statement.
You made the effort to put it in, which made it more fun, right? Because then you could tell.
I think every player notices those small things, even if they don't say it. And that is one thing that, all of the small things, all the small like maps that people build or the rules that people do, the packets that they put out, eventually all that does get witnessed. And then if I had some silver spray paint, I
some chrome
spray in my
spray
mouth.
paint, yeah.
Chrome.
Yeah. Real talk. The little things, man. That's real
The little
relationship
things
advice
matter.
too.
People have expectations, and if you set good ones, people will expect those things, and those are good things.
Yeah.
Now we've already gone over your shout outs, Liam. Do you have any final thoughts? Because that's the one I forgot.
Okay. I got ahead of myself.
We're just going backwards.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. We're going backwards. Final thoughts. I would say for everybody who's listening to this and heard all these crazy events and whatnot, and you're like, oh my God, I don't know how to do any of this stuff. Hey, just reach out to any of these people. There's an internet presence here. So if you aren't able to find out where to get like the resources for this or truthfully, whatever, like for setting up events, just if you're listening to this, listen to a couple more, reach out to the people on Discord. I mean, hell, even just steal it. Truthfully, like steal the player packet. I used the code of conduct from Dakotah. I didn't bother rewriting that. I just stole that straight up, and it works great for me. So, but also, make sure to make these events that you do have. If you do start running them or don't, if you do, start by giving yourself an identity on what you want these events to actually look like. So I want people to have fun and show up, or I want people to be competitive, but also have a good time. Just kind of like the silver lining of what you'd like people to get from these things when they do go out and spend their time or their money, if at all. And just have an expectation to have fun. That's truly, hey, if you're playing Kill Team and you're not having fun, I don't know what you're doing, guys.
It's true. That's
I don't know what you're doing. Go play video games, I guess. That's my final thoughts.
I like it. I like
that.
it. Yeah. How about you guys? You guys got any last wishes, shout outs? Because I think we did your final thoughts, unless if you have more, because why not?
Yeah, Mike, you shout out.
I would say if you're in a small Kill Team community and no one's running tournaments, just do it. Like if your first tournament doesn't have to be LVO, it doesn't have to be a 40-player tournament. You just grab some of your friends, put together an 8-player tournament. You don't need by definition huge prize support. It's nice to have. But if you're just starting off, it's fine to do a shout out at the end, pull the money together and split it, however many ways for first, second, third, or whatever. Just get it going and everything else will come.
Mm-hmm.
You just reach out to other people. You could find STLs online to print out trophies. If you don't have the terrain, people in your community do, right? Just reach out to them and say, hey, can you bring a set of ITD or a set of Volcus or a set of Octarius, right? That's what we do. We actually don't maintain a large collection of terrain. It's all individuals in the community, their own terrain we bring.
We ask for them to bring in their terrain. Please, thank you, and so much love, because truly without it, I can't own 100 ITD sets. I don't have room in my house. Mm-hmm. But if I ask the community, they've been more than willing to show up.
Amazing.
It works that way.
And Mike too. Mike brings stuff too. Mike brings the brains.
He does.
And sometimes an ITD set.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I leaned heavily on Mike. I was like, Mike, what does this mean? And he was like, oh, it means this. I'm like, thank you, Mike.
I'm lucky.
Yeah, I was super lucky that he volunteered to help us out at LVO. How about you, G? Any other shout outs?
Of course, you can join the conversation, whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it on the podcast. You could do so by either commenting, tell us what you think, what kind of events you'd like to run, or what events you'd be willing to go to, whether they're doubles or individual ones, what you think about those formats. Or tell us on our Discord, you can add us. We're right there. We're pretty transparent. We'll respond to pretty much anything nice. Maybe even some stuff that's mean. And of course, when you're on the YouTube channel, you can check out other things like the Hobby Highlander. You can check out the battle reports that are on there. More to come soon. And then you can find us on our Instagram, which we are a Squad Games Entertainment on Instagram. There we go. Squad _ Games _ Entertainment. I always forget that part, but I like saying it. Yeah. That's us.
See, do I have my little box?
Yes, and the newest thing we'd like to
show.
Give
me a second.
Yes. I forgot.
Yeah. I think it's amazing.
I wish you had brought that to sell, by the way. I was like actually ready. Me and Mike was literally talking about it. Just like, actually, that's what we're
That's
it. Literally thinking about making something exactly like that, not 3 days before you brought it.
If you're watching the YouTube video, you'll see the product.
Yes, and if not,
Gee, do you have it? Do you have it?
Mine is in the garage.
Surprise!
Well,
yes.
Surprise!
Yeah, you guys are gonna have to wait until next week.
So we will show it in the Discord at some point. So if you haven't, you could again join the Squad Games Discord. Check it out there. New stuff coming up.
Yeah, I've started making something new for everyone for Kill Team. 3D printers are a little bit more reliable than lasers. If all my laser has to cut is tokens and gauges, then, even better. And terrain, cool. I guess. So creating something new. It's called the Micro Box and Micro Tray. I think it looks amazing. So if you guys want to stick around and check those out, I'll be posting photos like Giacomo said. They'll go up soon, but also something else that's cool. G, what is up with this like alfalfa hair over here, man? Goodness gracious. I want to shout out Mike specifically because I lean on Mike a lot sometimes. This Mike right here, I'll ask him questions. He answers.
There's a lot of Mikes.
Yeah. Mike Cortez is also a great resource. Anyone named Mike, I pretty much am just like, yo, you're good at Kill Team. There's this edge case that people won't stop adding me about. Why is it so complicated? Because that's the other thing. I was talking to Mike Cortez. who is somebody who I trust a lot with the rules as well. And, you know, when you become a TO, you become very opinionated about the rules, right? Just like the rules writers themselves are probably opinionated about rules because they did it, right? So, I think it's rather important that TOs remain opinionated, but they stay open to certain things. So I want to shout out, I want to shout out to the people in the community that keep the game alive by asking these questions that are so difficult to answer sometimes. Without those kinds of questions, without these kind of edge cases, we wouldn't be learning and we wouldn't be growing with the game. Because there's sometimes, like what was the craziest rules interaction at LVO, Mike? Do you remember?
Besides the bomb squig exploding through the door, honestly, it's such a long time ago. That's the only one that's ever stuck out to me as a rule that is actually
it's pretty
very
controversial
clear
too.
that it should not work, but it's very clear that it should work at the same time.
Yeah. There's a couple other ones, but like those kinds of things will come up slowly at events. The bigger your events are and all that kind of stuff, those kinds of things will happen. So, but shout out to Giacomo, always a steadfast ally, amazing artist. Look at his models behind him,
Yep.
Liam, also a great TO and artist. And I want to shout out our sister channel, Tabletop Mayhem. She's putting out wonderful shorts. If you like Warhammer content, you like short content, make sure you go subscribe and comment on her channel. She's also doing small lore-sized bite videos. So if you don't know a lot about the 40K universe, perhaps you're just a competitive, sweaty player and you want to know a little bit more about the lore, you could go subscribe. So we don't do very much lore here, though I am a lore nerd, right? Sometimes you'll see me praying to the Emperor at events. That's how,
This most recent one did not help you out.
No,
it didn't.
That was a bad.
No.
That was a bad.
But it helped Giacomo, and that's
It
what
did,
matters.
It did. There you go. All right.
Yeah.
I'll count it. I'll count it.
His Emperor's guiding light was shining through Giacomo's eyeballs and blinding me, but guiding him to success. So, but yeah, that's it from us. Appreciate you guys all for listening. Thank you to our patrons. Thank you for listening.
Catch you later.
Peace.
Oh, I did it again. The Squad Games Podcast is a production of Squad Games Entertainment. For more information on Squad Games, please visit our website at squadgames.net or check out our YouTube channel at Squad Games Entertainment.